And Nevada law enforcement agencies say they kept a close eye on the violent events that unfolded in Washington, D.C. And at a time when many people are calling to defund the police, they say the pandemic and these riots and protests prove that we actually need to be investing more resources into our law enforcement officers. The day after Trump supporters breached the nation's Capitol building, the Nevada Police Union sent out this statement, saying in part, here in Nevada, law enforcement is not fully staffed, trained, equipped, or prepared for an attack like the one we saw yesterday. The statement went on to condemn the actions of those rioters, and they called on state lawmakers to allocate more funds for law enforcement. The Nevada Police Union represents the Highway Patrol as well as other law enforcement agencies throughout the state. However, when it comes to the Las Vegas Metro Police Department,
our folks are equipped with state-of-the-art equipment. I can't speak to these other agencies.
Lieutenant William Hudler, chairman of the Police Managers and Supervisors Association, says they're prepared to handle massive riots and protests.
I can tell you that here in Las Vegas, our folks are well-trained. We're as equipped as any other agency is to handle these type things.
But Hudler does agree that as society and times change, more funding and investment into local law enforcement is inevitable.
We have to take into account the things that have changed in society. And the things that have changed are now we have a less than full staff police force because of the pandemic. And we have a less than full staff police force that is dealing with a higher frequency of protests and the potential for more. So there's always going to be a need to continue to push forward and progress as it relates to equipment and as it relates to ensuring that we have the ability to conduct ongoing training.
Jim, naturally, it's going to depend on who you ask. However, if you are grappling with this, a psychologist says, know that you are not alone if you're having a tough time mentally with the situation.
The dust is settling at the United States Capitol. Damage and debris remain throughout the grounds, outside and inside the halls of democracy, brought on by Americans. Echoing President Trump's message that the election he lost was stolen, despite ballot scrutiny and judge after judge ruling there was no evidence to support his claim. Physical damage in the Capitol can and will be repaired. But as he worked on his '87 Chevy, Ramon Martinez was more concerned about what will take much longer to repair: America's image.
We are the world leaders. People come to America for the quote-unquote, the American dream or whatever. Other countries look at us, and that right there, what happened at the Capitol building, never should have happened. Never. Whether I'm a Donald Trump supporter or a Biden supporter, it never should have happened.
Luke Nettles had a different take on Thursday.
There's definitely a lot going on with, our government, and there's a lot of unhappy people. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's more events like this.
Everyone will interpret what happened in their own way. But UNLV psychology professor Stephen Benning says there's a lot mentally to digest, and that may take some time.
This is not the sort of thing that can be easily accommodated within the span of a few minutes.
He says one major reason Americans have learned to expect the peaceful transition of power after a presidential election. It's become a societal norm. But on January 6th, 2021, that expectation was challenged.
It confronts the schemas that we use to process the world and to make sense of it every day.
Yeah, I'm digesting what happened.
Martinez hopes Americans can come together and move on.
Marie, experts tell me that these crimes range from mere probation to years behind bars.
USA! USA! USA!
The video shocked the world as pro-Trump forces stormed the Capitol building, some ransacking politicians' offices and clashing with U.S. Capitol Police.
You're really looking at a slew of charges.
Defense attorney Michael Camadecco says these actions can have severe legal consequences, from those arrested for defying the D.C. mayor's curfew to those witnessed inciting violence.
Many of them have been charged with curfew violations. Those won't be as severe as those individuals that went into the Capitol building. Storming the Capitol, they are looking at felonies.
And serious ones at that. At a press conference with the reporters Thursday, acting U.S. Attorney Michael Sherwin confirmed all charges are on the table. To name a few: trespassing, destruction of federal property, assault on a police officer, rioting, and insurrection. Some punishable up to 10 years in prison. So far, Sherwin says local and federal prosecutors have charged 55 suspects. And today, D.C. metropolitan officers are asking the public's help identifying others in these photos. Ryan Helmick, lead attorney for the defenders, says in the prosecution's favor. The sheer amount of pictures and surveillance video footage.
They're going to be looking at all these videos and these cameras and whatever social media posts that they find.
He also says any social media post explaining plans to storm the Capitol can be viewed as conspiracy and used as evidence. And while each case will be examined on a case-by-case basis, Michael suspects prosecutors could attempt to make an example of several suspects.
They're going to go after several individuals quite harshly and go for the max penalties.